We are back on another weekend after all the action and some of the leagues that ended up summarizing today, the last game. A Premier League that we see that Arsenal has an extra game that they were not able to take advantage to build that gap between them and Manchester City. But we are in the Premier League, which is match day 27. However, some teams like Wolves and Arsenal have an extra game on hand, and Arsenal who should have taken advantage of such game. Esto es pase ambidiestro, ambidextrous pass, fútbol honestamente, soccer, football honestly. We're gonna hop in right away to a Premier League that the Premier League title race is firmly at the moment on Arsenal hands with a 5-point gap, sitting on top with 60 points after a dominant win for the North London Derby against Tottenham, and Manchester City that remains the primary challenge in second place with 56 points. That is 5 points gap. However, Arsenal has an extra game that they played, and they did not capitalize on that. It was a March fixture that got moved towards February due to Arsenal qualifying for a lot of their competitions. So they had a free week and they put this Wolves Arsenal ahead. But that was technically match day 26. But it goes on to see this match day 27, Premier League match day 27, where Arsenal wins the North London Derby. But we will start with the Premier League that is on match day 27. The first game we will see, the first game of this match, as we can see, is a Aston Villa against a Leeds. An Aston Villa against Leeds. A game that ended 1-1. Timmy Abraham salvaged a point for Aston Villa with an 87-minute strike after Leeds had led for most of the match through Anton Stach on a 1-0 lead. Villa dominated possession but struggled to break down a compact Leeds defense until the final moments, and the draw sees Villa stay third place, though their lead over the chasing pack has narrowed to 3 points. Leeds are in 15th place. Again, the ended tie 1-1. Moving on, we have a Brentford against a Brighton that won as visitors 2-0. Brighton put a comfortable away performance with goals from Diego Gomez and veteran Danny Welbeck on either side of halftime. Brentford lacked their usual clinical edge at home and were unable to recover after Welbeck's goal just before the interval. The result sees Brighton climb to the 14th place, with a Brentford slips to 7th place. Then moving on, we have a Chelsea against a Burnley, a game that ended tie 1-1. Chelsea's Champions League hopes took a hit as they were held in a frustrating draw with relegation threat Burnley. Despite taking an early lead through Joao Pedro, the Blues failed to kill the game, and they were punished by Fleming's 92nd minute equalizer. And Burnley's spirit defensive performance earns them a vital point in their fight for survival. Chelsea that is in the 5th place, and a Burnley that is in 19th place. And a Fafona that got a red in the 72nd minute left Chelsea a bit more vulnerable to hold the win. But Chelsea ties and their Champions League hopes took a hit in a 1-1 against 19th place Burnley. Then moving on, we have a West Ham against a Bournemouth. In the game, there was clear-cut chances. This game ended 0-0. West Ham and Bournemouth play out a stalemate at the London Stadium. The result does a little for West Ham survival's hopes, as they remain in the relegation zone in 18th place, and Bournemouth stays comfortable in 8th place, continuing their steady mid-table campaign. Then moving on, we have a Manchester City that won against Newcastle. a match that ended 2-1 in favor of Manchester City to keep building on that pressure, to keep on making that gap short. And again, this is where it comes tricky. I said at the beginning of the season, where you're gonna have a teams where they play Saturdays, some play Sundays. They hold that gap for a couple hours. Then the next day, if Arsenal wins or whoever plays, and this is it's gonna be a back and forth of days, gasping to see who takes the lead. But at the moment, Arsenal are steady with a 5 point gap, and Manchester City is chasing, putting pressure. But this game ended 2-1 for Manchester City against Newcastle. Youth star Nico O'Reilly was the hero in the Etihad, scoring twice in the first half to keep Manchester City within a striking distance of the leaders. Newcastle leveled temporarily through Lewis Hall, but could not find a second post, a second past the Resolute City backline in the second half. So City was pretty steady in this game, and Newcastle just couldn't find a second one to at least tie. The victory keeps Pep Guardiola's side in second place with a crucial game in hand. Of course, we said Arsenal and Wolves are the only two teams with a extra game being played. It was a March fixture that got moved due to Arsenal qualifying for most of their competitions and being free. But City puts on the pressure, and they have an extra game in hand, which it becomes really crucial. Manchester City is in second place, Newcastle is 11th place, and O'Reilly is having a season being steady in his position, being a strong defender, challenging as a defender, and at the same time, he's converting goals, he's attacking. So his versatility has come in hand for Pep Guardiola. He has found himself. He has gotten rhythm, scoring, defending, assisting, attacking. All in general, his overall game has been a season for him, and being and earning a starting spot in this Manchester City that is full of great players, full of stars, full of names. And when you find yourself a steady spot in the starting 11, that pretty much speaks of your talent and what you're capable of doing on the field. Manchester City wins 2-1 and puts pressure on Arsenal that still have a 5 point gap. Moving on, we have a Crystal Palace against Wolves. A Crystal Palace that wins 1-0 against Wolves. Crystal Palace that plays home wins 1-0 against Wolves. A 90th minute winner for Evan Gyökeres. Secured 3 points for Crystal Palace in an intense mid-table clash at Selhurst Park. Keshi was sent off for 2 quick-fire yellow cards early in the second half. Both sides struggled for creativity for much of the game, with Wolves remaining rooted in the bottom of the table with only 10 points and on the 20th place. And the win moves Palace up to the 13th place, further distancing them from the drop zone, from the relegation zone, from the red zone. Is where you do not want to be. Moving on, we have a Nottingham Forest against a Liverpool. A Nottingham Forest that lost at home against a Liverpool that wins by the minimum 1-0. Arne Slot's side secured a dramatic victory at the City ground thanks to a 97th minute header from Alexis Mac Allister. Liverpool struggled for rhythm through the match and even saw an earlier Mac Allister goal ruled out for handball before the late winner. On that point, it is really contradicting a Cole. Yes, kind of hits his hand, but it's close to his body. But at the end, the rules are there. It's all about how the officials read this and perceive the situation. So again, human error is part of it, but VAR is supposed to make things more clear. But in this sense, it's kind of contradicting because the contradiction just is about what if the VAR wasn't there? Would they have given a goal? Because it's not a clear handball. His hand is on his body, yes, making him gain more width, but it's not in the sense of his hand being out where limbs are not close to the body. But this is all about how our officials, perceive the ruling in the moment. And again, Liverpool gets the win in a game that the last 5-10 minutes were way more suspenseful and gave emotions in the game. In the last 5-10, what it is, Liverpool and Forest, they went through the emotions. They went through the emotions of feeling like they lost and then feeling like they won. Because that first goal was ruled out, and Liverpool felt like they have won, but then it was ruled out. So then Forest felt like they had found a tie, but then in the 97th minute, a goal comes and it just calls it for Liverpool. A goal that also got reviewed, but it ends up becoming a goal, and Liverpool are able to breathe. The result moves Liverpool level on points with Chelsea in the fierce battle for European qualification, and Nottingham Forest is in the 17th place. Liverpool in the 6th place, and again, a game that drove emotions uh, in the last 5-10 minutes of this whole game. Liverpool scores, then the goal gets ruled out. That gives Forest emotions of, all right, we're still in this weekend fight. And it takes away from Liverpool because they think they scored, but they didn't. Goal gets ruled out. But then in the last few, Liverpool find a goal. They feel like they have won it, and they finally won it. So in the last 5-10 minutes, this game gives you emotions. This is what the games are about. Sometimes you play all your heart out in 90, and in the last complementary minutes, case is due, and somebody takes the win. But moving on, we have a Sunderland against a Fulham. A Fulham that wins as visitors 3-1 against Sunderland. Raul Jimenez rolled back the years with a clinical brace to guide Fulham to an impressive away victory at the Stadium of Light. And Sunderland fought back with a goal from Enzo Lefebvre, but Alex Iwobi's late strike extinguished any hopes of a comeback for Sunderland. In Sunderland that goes to the 12th place, and Fulham jumps into the top half of the table, sitting 10th place on goal difference. But moving on, we have the North London Derby. The North London Derby, where Arsenal wins 4-1 as visitors against Tottenham. The Gunners dominated the North London Derby as Eberechi and Viktor Gyökeres each netted braces to dismantle the Spurs defense, and Randall Kolo Mawani scored a brief equalizer for the host, but Arsenal relentless second half pressure secured a double over the rivals this season. And Arsenal now holds a 5-point lead atop, while Tottenham remains just 2 points above the relegation zone in the 16th spot. Tottenham has the players, has the talent, but sometimes the midfield needs to learn how to read the game. Some of these midfielders for Tottenham are holding the ball too long, and it's understandable. Sometimes you want to do a counter attack and you want to keep going, but you need teammates to open the field, and one man at times cannot do the whole job. Yes, there is players, don't get me wrong, that can solve you the game and on a counter attack by themselves. There is, but we saw this too many times of Tottenham trying to run through one or two players, and they have to work more as a team in the midfield. Xavi Simons lost the ball too many times in this game. Too many times lost the ball against Arsenal. About 7-8 times he lost the ball. He got depossessed from the ball. So as a midfielder, you need to find a rhythm where you can communicate with your other teammates, opening the field better and knowing where each of you will stand. Individual work can just get you so far. That's why it's a team sport. But Tottenham seems to be struggling still. A lot of people say this is a huge club, and they have the quality, they have the money, the financial needs to acquire the players, but they don't have the mentality as the organization goes. But in this game, this Tottenham just struggled in the midfield. They were resilient at one point in the defense, but after a certain goal fell, the team just couldn't do anything about it. The midfield needs better work together. And yes, a Tottenham that still sees a lot of injuries, so that's another factor. And a Tottenham that has a new coach, Igor Tudor, but it's going to be hard for this Tottenham to get their last few games in line so they can get some points and not drop to the relegation zone or drop to the second division of this of this English football. Um, but Tottenham did see to struggle this game. Tottenham needs a little bit more adjustments in the midfield, and the midfield needs to talk and communicate with themselves a bit more to be able to hold the game and not lose so much possession in transitions. Because this is what happened in this game: possessions and losing the ball a lot in the transitions came down to not having much possession or being able to open the field accordingly. But moving on, we see the last game of this Premier League. A Premier League where it seems almost done. There is 27 games that have been played. This leaves you with 11 games to play, and only Arsenal and Wolves have played more games than anyone. A Wolves that has 28 games now, and an Arsenal that have 28 games now, and everybody else has 27 games. But this is the last match that closed this match day 27. Everton against a Manchester United. Manchester United that wins 1-0 as visitors against Everton. Manchester United that moved back into the top four with a gritty win at Hill Dickinson Stadium on tonight's night, Monday night. The super sub Benjamin Šeško proved the difference, finishing a rapid and counter attack in the 71st minute, assisted by Brian Bume. And this was amazing. Cunha had a opportunity before there where he could have passed to Šeško, and he didn't. He tried to take it on by himself, losing possession. But the second time that this Cunha gets the ball in the defense area, sees Mbume running deep on the right wing, and he just sends him a long ball. And we see Benjamin Šeško in the defense still at that moment, and he makes a long run, taking advantage of the defense, of the Everton defense not being there or being able to track him on time. And Mbume just feeds the ball to the space, and Šeško does what he's been doing in the last few games, which is coming off the bench and scoring, becoming the really important man for this Manchester United. If you really think about it, we'll say it again and said it before. I believe Šeško should start, or at least give him a 45 steady minutes so he can actually come and, contribute to the game and start getting himself more familiar with what he needs to do in this Premier League. But in the last few games, he has become a super sub to not only tie the game, but to take some wins for this Manchester United that, yes, has not been winning by more than 3 goals, has found themselves sometimes trailing in the game and coming back up, but defines their 5th win. And Manchester United defines their 4th win in 5 games. They have no losses in 5 games. They have 4 wins, 1 tie. And a tie that, yes, came against a low position team. But this is what happens in this Premier League sometimes. And Manchester United finds a win against Everton, and they secured the 4th spot, leaping over Chelsea and Liverpool. And Everton that, this defeat leaves them in the 9th place, still finding to find wins so they can aspirate for European football. But in this Premier League, we have, of course, the title gap. Arsenal deletes the league with 61 points, but Manchester City has 56 points, has a game in hand, and a superior goal difference too of 31 goal difference. So that is pressure, because you got 5 points as Arsenal on top of second place, but you also have an extra game you played and did not take advantage of. While Man City has an extra game they have not played yet, only 5 points. If they win that game, they cut the lead from 5 points to 2 points. But football is strange. Football, for more that you think that you have it predicted, sometimes you don't. And this Premier League has been able to show to be that one league where underdogs, low mid-table teams can still come to your home and shock you at times. But we have also the Benjamin Šeško factor. The United striker has now scored 3 goals as a substitute in his last 3 appearances. The best efficiency in the league this month of having a bench player come in and solve you the game in a really, really efficient way. And as when it comes to discipline, we saw a high number of bookings, particularly in the Everton against Manchester United game, and which features 5 yellow cards in the final 20 minutes alone of this game. So, in a small amount of time, you saw a lot of yellows in this game, but Manchester United takes the win in that game. And Rodri remains, which you can say, the league's highest passing accuracy player, completing 528 passes against Newcastle. This guy is the pillar of the midfield when it comes to Manchester City. He is the guy who controls the band and the momentum of the game. It dictates how fast or how slow Manchester City open the game or hold the game themselves. But in this Premier League in general, we see an Arsenal that at the moment they solidify their title ambitions with a dominant 4-1 against Tottenham in the North London Derby. Then we have a Manchester City that kept pace at the top with a 2-1 win against Newcastle. A Liverpool that rely on a dramatic 97th minute Alexis Mac Allister header to sink Nottingham Forest. Manchester United that climbed into the top 4 following a narrow 1-0 win against Everton, thanks to Benjamin Šeško, who comes off from the bench in his third goal in 3 substitutes appearances. As rivals Chelsea and Aston Villa both stumbled to a 1-1 home draws. And then this weekend was defined by a late drama with Evan Gusan at Crystal Palace and Zayan Fleming from Burnley scoring 90-minute goals that significantly impacted both the European race and the relegation scrap. But that's all for this Premier League. This Premier League starts feeling a little bit of tension and friction, but some don't take advantage of extra games they have played, and those that have not played the extra games still applying pressure by getting wins and not letting anything pass by, because points are very important in the long term. Facing those teams that have strongholds is also very important in this Premier League, but getting points is the most important because this is a long run. But the Premier League that is in the 27th match day, with Arsenal and Wolves having an extra game played, that puts them each at 28 games. But Arsenal did not take advantage of this, and now they see Manchester City win an extra game on hand and only 5 points behind them. So Arsenal must feel the pressure. Arsenal must not bottle it, because this is it for Arteta. He has to be able to get the wins to take this Premier League title. After all these years of being an Arsenal, pressure is on. Titles have to come in. Investment return is wanted by Arsenal and the organization. But that's all for the Premier League. Gracias a esos que siempre están aquí conmigo. Que tengan un buen día. Esto es Pase Ambidiestro, Ambidextrous Pass. Fútbol honestamente. Soccer, football. Honestly, have a great day. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a good one.